is I am kind of the cheerleader. I am the cheerleader for you. I am the navigator for you, helping you get started in the program, helping you kind of get your feet on the ground, getting into college. If you're already in college, helping you navigate, how do I get into this program? How does it match up with what I'm doing now and my goals? And so that's what I do. And so I'm kind of here to be that person to answer those questions and help you get started. Basically, you would be in my care all the way up until your first day of classes in the program when I hand you off to your advisors after orientation. And so I'm excited. Hopefully we'll get to see a lot more of each other than just tonight, but we will go ahead and get rolling. So tonight we're going to do a few things. We're going to talk about the IT Flexible Apprenticeship Program. We have a employer partner and a student here to talk with you that is currently in the program. And then we're going to be talking about how you can get started and join the program as well. And so that's what we're here to do. We're going to do it all in 30 minutes, fingers crossed. So I have a quick video for you, and hopefully the sound will come through. Let me know if it's not in the chat box. Oops.
Our apprenticeship program is designed for non-four-year degrees, which in cutting edge IT is pretty unique. It's not something we've done prior. So we actually are looking for people of diverse backgrounds, less than a four-year degree. Columbus State gives us people who are hungry, who are eager, who want to learn, who want to grow, and really that's what we all want to do, right? So the curriculum at Columbus State helped them prepare very well. And not only did the folks come in here and adapt really well, but then Dr. Butler and several of the executives from Columbus State came over here and asked, how can we adjust our curriculum based on paired programming, based on new IT to make it even better? All four of them, we extended full-time offers because they excelled. They were just every bit as good or better than some of our college grads that we have from the best universities and the top of the top. So I think this model is groundbreaking, and I think it leads us to places that historically we wouldn't ever have thought of going. Columbus State is our premier partner.
Okay, so that's your sneak peek, and then I'll tell you how they all got there. So like I said, the IT Flexible Apprenticeship Program, that's why we're here. Basically, it's a program through Columbus State that allows you to do a year-long work experience that is paid, where you really get to benefit from integrated learning and real-world work. So not only are you just learning from the classroom or from the lab, but you're also learning from, you know, your work experience and being able to work hands-on in an environment where you're learning the work hands-on in the industry. So not even just, you know, doing it and doing simulations, you're in the business while you're also earning your degree. And so kind of unheard of, kind of groundbreaking, really, a program like this to allow you to work for an entire year prior to even graduating. And so we're excited to be able to offer that here. And there's three major pathways that feed into that through Columbus State. So two are associate's degree programs and one is a certificate program. So the first is cybersecurity. That is the first associate degree. So you can pursue a cybersecurity associate of applied science here at Columbus State, software development associate of applied science, or a data center technician certificate. And so cybersecurity, designing, developing, implementing defensive, offensive cyber strategies, if that's something that interests you. Software development, looking at more of the computer languages, networking, web development fundamentals. Really, software development also includes some business courses and those soft skills you need to kind of work in a corporate environment. And then also the data center technician, which is a certificate, like I said, so it's not an associate's degree, it is a certificate, so it's a little bit of a shorter program. But you're gonna like maintain that hardware and infrastructure on the latest cloud computing server technologies. I'm sure you've seen pictures of data centers with the, you know, rows and rows and, you know, 1 million square foot center of the data center columns. And so it's just really neat. So there's a lot of different options through this program. And I just kind of like to highlight that kind of on the front end. So if you're like, oh, cybersecurity is not my jam, that's fine. We have two other options for you. And if you want to learn more about each of these majors individually, I'm happy to provide you some links to our website that allow you to kind of walk through these majors or connect you with faculty so you can talk more about which major might fit kind of your career goals best. And so what would this look like as far as an associate degree pathway, so cybersecurity or software development, if you were pursuing it, what would your academics look like? And so it's a 5-semester program, and then it's a series of career readiness trainings. You're going to get a strong support system from both the career readiness side, from our academic advising side, as well as from your employer if you get a placement. And then school remains #1 priority through the program. And I think that's really important. And so the first 2 semesters, you get into your first semester here at Columbus State, or maybe, you know, it's first semester of the program if you're already here at Columbus State. And that would be this coming fall semester. And so you're in your full-time classes, you're kind of just getting your feet wet with the program and with this coursework. And then we do throw in a little bit of career prep here and there during that first semester. In the second semester, things really, really heat up. We make sure you're getting what we call career ready, which we'll talk about here in a bit, but it can be kind of a lift, making sure you are as prepared as possible to go into networking with our employer partners, to give them your resume, to produce an elevator pitch that you give to them, so that you are as prepared as possible going into that you've taken the classes you need to have a baseline understanding to do a job in the industry or be an apprentice. And all of that happens in the second semester, along with the interview process that you would go through. And it is a competitive interview process. And so that happens in May. So you start this August, interviews happen in May. And if you land one of these apprenticeship positions, you are in that position for the entirety of the second year of the program. So the entirety of the second year, you are finishing out your classes for your major, you're working part-time at your employer partner. And then by the end of that 2 years, you have your associate's degree, you have 1 year work experience, and ideally you're ready to move into a full-time role at the employer partner. How does this look for a certificate pathway? Pretty much the same, except for you don't have those 2 remaining semesters of courses. So you would graduate kind of in the middle of that, or towards the beginning of that year-long apprenticeship, right? So we do have a software development certificate option, though if you don't have a background in IT or a prior bachelor's, it tends to not stand as well on its own. So I usually tell students, you know, it might be a good place to start, but we really would push towards that associate's degree as opposed to just the software certificate, where data center really can stick on its own. We do work with Amazon Web Services. There is an additional scholarship that can be applied for as well through that program, and I'm happy to walk more in depth with you. This is kind of a higher level overview, but if data center technician is something you're interested in, I'd love to talk more about it. But the biggest thing to take from this is that it is 3 semesters as opposed to 5, because it isn't a full associate's degree program. And so what does that interview process look like, getting to the point of being able to interview with these employer partners? Well, first, you're going to receive proactive advising to ensure you have your classes in the right order, to ensure you're on track for your major, that you're on track for your future goals, and that you're on track for the program. We have an advisor whose entire job is dedicated to serving students in this program. And then you're also going to get what we call career ready, which I already mentioned. So that's a resume review, mock interview, elevator pitch, LinkedIn, diversity and inclusion workshops. It's a full gamut to really make sure you're ready to walk into a networking event and say, hi, I'm Kayla, and this is why I'd make a good fit for your company, right? You're ready to just dive right into that conversation with these employers. We host like an employer networking night. For lack of a better comparison, it is speed dating with employers. So it's you and 2 of your peers, and you rotate around to the tables where these employers have already read your resume, but now they get to connect your name and your face, and you get to make that connection that helps you land that interview. When you go through the competitive interview process, that is based on employer selections. Like I said, they're going to connect the name and the face at interview night. You get a chance to then further, they get to see your elevator pitch, and they get to spark that connection and say, okay, I want to interview these students. And so that's always a really fun process. And so what does that apprenticeship look like, right? So we've gone through the interviews, we've gone through the some of the coursework, now we're at the apprenticeship. So that's average of $18 an hour while you're an apprentice, which is amazing. On-the-job mentorship, 24 to 40 hours a week, depending on the employer, hands-on training in the field, and then an opportunity for full-time employment after graduation that could land you at a salary of $50,000 to $60,000 a year. And so this is more than just a job. I like to highlight that. I had a job in college. I worked at Starbucks. I made $9 an hour. It didn't get me a full-time job. It didn't lead into my major. And honestly, other than teaching me to talk to people really fast, that's about all I got from it, right? This is more than just a job, right? This is an entry into a career position. It's competitive wage, it's a great employer, and it's the flexibility of knowing that these employers know you're a student first, which is very, very important. We call it our burrito of support. We really kind of wrap you in support between mentoring, career coaching, professional development opportunities. It's just this holistic wraparound support from me to our advisors, to our career services team, and then later to your employer partners. You're getting to connect those in-class experience to the real world. That is sometimes invaluable. I personally learn way better by doing than I do through any other platform. So if you're like me in that space, then this might be right up your alley. So there's also a scholarship opportunity that students in this program are eligible for. Also students outside of this program. So if you're like cybersecurity, not my jam. Software development, not my jam. That's fine. Network administration and web development also count for this application, or this this scholarship, but they don't count for the IT Flexible Apprenticeship Program. But I like to mention that this scholarship encompasses more of our IT majors than this program does. But this is a full tuition scholarship. You get cohorted into a group of really awesome students. You get entry into the STEM club. You get to really do a lot of really fun things, but it's full tuition and fees for your entirety of the program. So for 2 years, your full associate's degree is completely covered. The application for this scholarship closes April 1st. So let me repeat that. The application for this scholarship closes April 1st. It is the 23rd. So you got roughly a week and a couple days. So if you are interested in this program, if something like this could benefit you, definitely apply. Get your application in, like I said, before April 1st. When you go to the webpage as well, type in Choose Ohio First on our webpage, it'll come up, and that will be the eligibility requirements are on there as well. So definitely check it out if you're interested. It's a great opportunity. And I made it through my section. Whew, oh my gosh. Okay, so I have with me Jeff Hatchell from Accenture, who is our employer partner, and Nicholas Ball is here, who is an ITFA State Auto apprentice. So he landed an apprenticeship at State Auto. They're both here to talk to you, give you a little bit of an overview of what their process has been like from the employer side, from the student side. And then I'm just going to open it up to questions after we talk about a few quick next steps. So Jeff, I'll hand it over to you. I'll stop talking, let you kind of give us an overview from the Accenture side, and then I'll let you hand it off to Nick whenever you're ready.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much, Kayla. So one of the questions I want to address right away is, what's work life like for apprentices and for those of us who've been working afterwards. And I wasn't in the apprenticeship program, but I'll get around to that. Tomorrow is a release day for our client, and so I was able to pop off of that about 10 minutes before this meeting. And when this meeting is over, I'm going to jump back on the client and take care of a few things. So I should be done working about 8 o'clock tonight. This is extremely rare. This happens like once a quarter. So it's not near as bad as you think, if you've heard nightmare stories about that. But I wanted to start with that so that you'll know why I'm kind of out of breath and a little busy. It's because I've got a lot of things going on today. So the apprenticeship program, from Accenture's point of view, solves a couple of problems. The first problem is one that we have internally, right? It's having diverse candidates with a range of experiences who can bring that diversity of thought and action into our business and help us deliver for our clients, okay? If everybody looked like me, we'd be a pretty one-dimensional company, right? So we need people from everywhere. That I said people like me implies the white maleness, but I also want to point out that I'm like you. I have 2 associate's degrees, one from Florida State College at Jacksonville and another one from Wake Technical Community College in North Carolina. I was trying to pursue my bachelor's degree after work in every spare moment that I could get to go to school, and it got interrupted by moves and promotions and whatever else, and I kept at it, graduated from OSU in May of 2019, and ended up at Accenture, and I love it here. I used to think people, like I would believe somebody if they said that they liked their job and there was just a couple of things that they didn't like, but I thought they must be something shady going on there because, I can't just quit my job for the job that I love. I got to make the bills somehow. So I have that perspective and I bring that to Accenture and they seem to like it. It's great. But we need your perspective, right? We can't just rely on us. Accenture is also very involved in our community. And so there's another problem that we're trying to solve. And it's that there is a huge need for IT people in the economy right now, especially locally here in Columbus. And there's not enough people who are qualified to take those jobs. And so what we want to do is help the community grow those skills and provide opportunities for you so that you can grow and so that you can find a good job, because these jobs pay pretty well, okay? Come with pretty good benefits too. Now, Of course, we benefit from that, but I've asked leadership over and over and over again, like, how worried should I be about the business aspects of it? Every single time they've said, don't worry about that. What we want you to do is just engage with them and help them as much as you can, right? So our focus is on getting you developed and getting you ready for the workplace, whether that's through the apprenticeship program or not, frankly. But we support the ITFA program and have since 2018, founding member with Nationwide and some others. Now, to play off of some of the things that Kaylor said, the certificate versus the associate in arts. I think if you're dead set on getting the data center certificate, because that's just your thing, then you should definitely go do that. I would say be careful about that certificate though, because if you go ahead and get the AA, you'll be able to transfer and go to 4-year college later, partly on the strength of that AA. The certificate won't carry as much weight. That's not to dissuade you from the data center one, but it's to say that unless that's really what you want to do, there's probably more value in the other ones. For the scholarships, and I would actually want to say this for the scholarships and for anybody who doesn't get into the ITFA program or who isn't hired out of the ITFA program, there are some other opportunities in Accenture for you to consider, but they will fall into the range of things that I'll tell you about external, right? Regardless of whether in the apprenticeship program or in one of the scholarship programs, there's something that you can do to help yourself very, very much. And it's to build a balanced project, software project that has a UI, something like Angular, React, doesn't matter which one, just pick one. A back end, do it in Java if you want to come to us, but Java, C# doesn't really matter either way. They're both just as good. It's just Java will prepare you for us better. Any database, try to use a relational one if you can, because that's the one people care about the most and the big businesses use the most. Put it all in the cloud, right? And find some public API, like if you're into Pokemon cards or Magic the Gathering or weather, whatever, it doesn't matter. Use some kind of API. The fact that you're doing that project will give you something to talk about with the employers in the interviews. And I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how many people got so excited at OSU when I would interview with them, and they would find out that I went and learned Python on my own and was building a project on the side. Didn't even have all that stuff, right? They're not used to people having that kind of initiative. And the fact that you're working and coming to school and all this stuff, you've already got a lot of initiative. You know, you can fire up a project like that and be working on it, and that we have something to talk to them about. But whatever you do, have a plan, be working towards it. Know that you're getting an excellent education at CSCC. There have been a few people who have asked me how nervous they should be about going on to a client project. Frankly, you will have more than enough skill coming out of CSCC to work on any of our projects with us. Part of that is a misconception about how much knowledge you need, but another one is about how we structure things. We work in a team environment where you'll be pairing with somebody. So you may be pairing with me, for example. And if you're pairing with me, well, I know more than you. I can help you along. But there may be things that you know that I don't know, and you can help me along. And we help each other as we go. If we both run into a problem like we did today, we reach outside to other teams at Accenture, sometimes at other clients, to talk about certain specific technical issues if we need to get them fixed. And it's one of the strengths of Accenture to do that. So that brings up the last kind of thing I wanted to talk to you about being there at CSCC is that we're trying to find ways to interject some collaborative exercises and collaborative ideas into your schoolwork so that you can develop that skill. A lot of us come from an area like I did in the Marine Corps and being a mechanic and all this other stuff, where it's very directive. You're being told what to do. There's a very specific set of criteria that you have to meet. You've got, you know, some pretty angry people around one way or another. They're going to yell at you if you get it wrong. And really what they want you to do is to do what you're told. When you get into this environment, whether it's at Accenture or some of our other partners out there or Nationwide in them, they want you to think. They want you to think. They don't want you to be arrogant. They don't want you to be sassy and all that kind of thing. But what you do need to do is you need to have a mind of your own. You need to understand who you are. You need to understand where you're coming from and take responsibility for your actions. If you say, yes, that sounds good to me, You better be saying that because it sounds good to you and not because you think the boss is going to yell at you. It takes a little bit different mindset. And today we had a problem we were working on where we had 3 people advocating 3 different implementations for something. And I had to remind myself something I've told people before. At the end of the day, the goal is that we get this working for the client, whatever it is. And will these 3 approaches work? Yes, they will. Is one of them better than the others? Probably. Do I think it was mine? Of course. That's how it works. But all 3 will work. So what is the most important thing here? You have technical requirements and all that kind of thing that you need to think of. But once you have met that, what you really want to get down to now is, what is the team going to move forward on? What's the team going to move forward on? So when you come here to Accenture as an apprentice, either applying or not, try to have some kind of project going, try to use some of those collaborative skills. And then if you do get picked up by us, remember what she said about being a student first. We're going to be paying you to work, right, when you're here, but most of that work will be keeping yourself trained and getting yourself ready for the next project, because we intend to hire you. We've hired all of our apprentices that have come on board. And when you get to the end of that year, you should be done with kind of lagging behind or whatever that might happen in that first year. So you spend your very first year mostly learning, okay? And if you can do that, I think you'd be a rock star. If you have any questions at all, feel free to message me. I know they can get you my email address and stuff like that. You got it here in Teams. This is my work laptop. Be happy to help you in any way I can. Nick?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff. That was really helpful, super insightful. So I'm going to hand it off to Nick now to give us just a quick overview from the student side, having gone through the interview process, having, I'm sure talked with Accenture at some point, as I'm sure they were an employer partner and, met with other employer partners, ended up at State Auto. So give us kind of a quick overview, and then we might go a few minutes over. So I apologize for those that have to hop off at 6:30. Tom will be putting my email and my calendar link in the chat, but we'll let Nick talk for a few minutes. I'll go through some next steps, and then I will stay on to answer some questions for y'all for quite a while longer if needed. So Nick, go ahead.
For sure, yeah. Really well said, Kayla and Jeff. I'll try to follow up as best I can just by sharing my own experiences. So I was going I was going to Columbus State for I started beginning of 2019, and it just so happened, one day I forget how it was. I think I was walking through maybe the library, and I saw like a flyer about the ITFA. And so, I reached out and, I touched base with an advisor, and I thought it was just a cool program. So I didn't really, think that I would end up where I did. And so the reason I bring that up is to, don't count yourself out. Because like in my case, I had kind of given up hope before it even started, because I knew how big of a school Columbus State is. I knew how many students would be applying to the program. So I just kind of did what I did best, which was, truly have a passion for technology and the things you can build with it. And I kind of, did my own thing in that aspect, and not kind of counted on the apprenticeship coming through. And thankfully, I think the passion I had for technology was a big reason I landed a position at State Auto, even full time, because like Jeff was saying, they want to see that you are willing to go the extra mile. So I totally can echo his point about building your own app on the side. I would say at State Auto, we do a lot of serverless stuff. So basically the backend is in the cloud with AWS. So it's probably helpful. I mean, if you're building out, an API app like Jeff was talking about, maybe build a clone without a traditional backend. So build it, serverless, use AWS, use the free tier as much as you can. Look up the serverless application model and try to mirror that, because I can say at our company, we would love to see, that version of the app, maybe even more so than traditional backend, because we're trying to be a cutting edge company and move towards a lot of new technologies, every day. So yeah, like I was saying, I was kind of going to Columbus State, and I got lucky and found out about the program, and kind of going through the motions and meeting up with everyone and kind of getting myself career ready. I slowly was realizing that there was a lot of work that went into it, and so balancing that And then, of course, we all have families, we all have lives outside of school. And then we all had work as well. So many of us in the program were already working full time, already going to school almost full time or full time, and then having to work with family. 1% of your week is hobbies at the end of the day. It's really tough. So even if the big thing that, I was told, and the big thing that my, friends would say, even if you don't make it, you're still doing something amazing. The fact that you're here right now, it means a lot. It means a lot to the school and to us, that you're here, to listen and hear us out. So, don't count yourself out. And I would say just keep at it, exhibit the traits that matter. Like I said, our company wants to see people who are action oriented, confident. You're a good communicator. You're good at, working outside of technical classwork. You are confident in what you say. Just exhibit these traits, and I can almost guarantee, we'll give you a shot. Because like I said, we want to see good people come in. And so, yeah, I'm here to answer any questions as well. I'll stay on.
Awesome. So real quick, thank you so much, Nick. I think it's so helpful as a student to hear the process from a student. I know when I was on my college search, that was one of the bigger things that was way helpful, more than me telling you what it's going to be like. Actually hearing someone that's done it can be way helpful. So real quick, y'all, the next steps are pretty simple. If you haven't applied to Columbus State, apply. It's a free application. There's no fee. So free, no fee, and there's no essay. So it takes maybe 20-30 minutes to complete, and then you get your acceptance letter usually within 24 to 48 hours, which is great. And so definitely, do that first. If you have already applied to Columbus State, if you're already a Columbus State student, if you want to learn more, if you want to talk about eligibility, get the application. So to receive the application for the program, you do have to come through me so that we can talk about your eligibility, talk about your goals, talk about next steps. And so you just put time on my calendar for us to talk about it. So my calendar link is on the screen, my phone number, you can text that number too, and my email is on the screen. And I'm going to drop that. Tom dropped it in the chat. I'm going to drop it again. That's really the biggest next step. So apply to Columbus State, come talk to me. The last thing I want to tell you is that we do have some upcoming summer camps that are really awesome. One is a Gen Cyber camp and one is an Alexa Skill Builder camp. They are both free, but I think they're primarily targeted at K at I think 9th, 10th, and 11th graders or 12th graders, but they might have other availability. So go check them out, cscc.edu/summer camps, see if you fit the eligibility requirements. They're free, there's a quick application, and it's just overall a really good experience. What a great thing to put on your resume before you go into these interviews and this networking, right? So yeah, that was all of my announcements. I'm going to stop talking. We're going to jump to questions. So I've answered a couple in the chat already. If I haven't answered your question, feel free to resend it. Maybe it got buried, but I would love to answer any questions that you guys have. Yes, I see a hand up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks for having me, Kaylor. Thanks to Nick and to Jeff for the insight. So my question is, I'm actually enrolled at CSCC. So I have I'm gonna take my capstone during the summer, and I have one class left to be finished. So, but I'm interested in the apprenticeship. So how does that gonna look like for me? What would be kind of the steps, or what can I expect?
Sure. So because you said you're taking your capstone this summer?
Yes.
So unfortunately, you'd be a little too far along in the program for us to get you in to interview this May. What we could do, though, and what I would love to do is connect you with our internship coordinator. His name is Chris Gardner. He's on my team. He's awesome. And what he could do is work with you in Career Services to get your resume out and help you find an internship experiential learning opportunity. So it might not be specifically this program, but you'd be working one-on-one with the internship coordinator and with Career Services to find an experiential learning opportunity and or a full-time opportunity post-graduation. So how about you send me an email and we'll get you connected with Chris.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I see, and oh gosh, the questions are so fast. This must be what it's like. There's people that do the Facebook Live like streams. Have you ever seen that? And they're answering like 100 questions at a time. They must read faster than I do.
I think they skip a lot.
Oh, they must. Okay, I'm not going to skip you guys. I promise.
The talk show people have somebody in the back checking for questions and send them to you.
Oh my goodness. So Edwin, I think we answered your question, but Edwin asked a really good question, and he asked, is it possible that after the apprenticeship with the company, you get hired by the company? And yes, absolutely. 85% of our apprentices do get offered full-time roles or go into full-time roles with their employer partners. You have to think of that 85%. Some decide maybe this isn't a good match for me and I'm going to use the experience and go elsewhere. Some decide I want to pursue a 4-year degree and I don't want to continue working right now while I do that. And so sometimes there's, outstanding circumstances, but 85% of our apprentices, like Nicholas, do land full-time roles at their employer partners, and that is the goal of the program, is to put you in a career position. I see a question that says, I'm a current.
The next question is, if it's a student that's currently in their 2nd semester, are they still eligible for the program?
Yes. Yes. So as long as you plan to graduate in May 2022 or beyond, so that's not this May, it's next May, then yes. Put some time in my calendar. We need to get you added like yesterday. So let's do that. But yeah, as long as you're graduating May 2022 or beyond, you are more than good to go.
The next one was if we'd be sending out this recording because they weren't able to come on at 6.
Sure.
Okay. And then the next one is if they're already enrolled, would they still be able to receive the scholarship?
No. Now, no, as far as I know. They did just change some of the acceptance criteria and they just updated the website as early. I'm talking like Monday. I got an email about some of the updated acceptance criteria for Choose Ohio First. So go, it's, let me put the website in. Sorry, I forgot it on the PowerPoint. It's cscc.edu/istcof. Go check out all the eligibility requirement was updated this week. So I would check into that.
Next, Tyrone has his hand up.
Sure.
Oh, sorry guys, I already asked the question.
Sure.
Oh, perfect. The next one, Kaylor, is if they are at OSU but transferring through the Preferred Pathways program, would they still be able to do the program? I think if their plan is to transfer to OSU through the.
So, yeah. So this is where things get really fun. These cybersecurity and software development as Associate of Applied Science degrees do not transfer very well to Ohio State, unfortunately. Franklin is an easier transfer. It's still not beautiful. What I've seen some students do and what you can talk to our advisors about, here's what I say. Being in the program is not out of the question. What you have to do is you have to talk to your advisor early and let them know that that's the plan. So let's say we got you applied and you come to pre-orientation to meet with our advisor to do your fall scheduling. Something you want to make clear is, hey, I really do plan to go to a 4-year. Do I need to double major as an Associate of Science? Do I need to do an Associate of Science with a software certificate? What is the best option for me for what I'm trying to do? And that needs to be the conversation. So it's not out of the question. You just have to start the conversation early. So like I said, get some time on my calendar. We can get you applied and then we can talk about how to have that conversation with our advisors when the time comes. I think it's this 3rd week of April is when we start those pre-orientation sessions for fall scheduling with our advisor for the program. So yes, but there's good conversation that has to come first.
Next question, are you able to work full-time during the apprenticeship?
I will leave this to my friends on the line that are at State Auto and from Accenture, but I know it differs from what I've heard with different employer partners. Some are closer to 24 hours a week, some are closer to 40. It also sometimes depends on how far along you are. Like my friend that's already in their 2nd semester here at the college, if you're graduating early on in your apprenticeship, so you'd be graduating like maybe 1 semester into your apprenticeship, or you'd be really close to graduation and you have a lot of credits under your belt and could take lighter course loads, that might open up the opportunity for you to work more. But like I said, I'm going to turn it over to them because they're the experts.
I am messaging someone who will be able to give us that answer for Accenture.
For sure. I can say in our case, I would say don't count on more than 30, but there's definitely all the way up to full time. So let's say the hard upper limit, it's definitely 37.5, which is like technically full time for our company. But it really just depends on what team you land on, and then who your like immediate manager is, so you can kind of level with them and talk it out. But we are extremely flexible. So we've had people work as little as, I want to say, like 15 hours a week, and then, like I said, all the way up to 37.5.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the school comes first. It's on your own individual journey. Kind of depends. I think the other thing is too, you're going through this interview process as an interview process. And so you have the ability to kind of talk with these employers about what that's going to look like and ask those questions as you go through the interview process. So if you're someone that's like, I really can only work 15 hours a week and balance school and still succeed, then that's okay. You have that conversation on the front end. Like I said, communication is key through this process all the way through.
Yeah, so I've got a couple of messages out to find out. I actually don't know the answer to that. What I'll say is, and it's actually something that was asked a minute ago, that you probably could have a second job while you were here. I don't recommend that. There is somebody who does have a second job, and that leads me to believe that we're part-time. But as soon as I have an answer, I'll shoot that over to you. I just don't recommend it because it's only 1 year, and if you can get by without it, focus on whoever your employer is the best you can, and get skilled up so that you don't have to worry about being hired at the end.
I think the competitive wage is also a big factor. If you are like, oh, well, I could work 40 hours a week at McDonald's. Well, if you're only making, I think they pay $15 an hour now. Actually, it's probably not a good example. But if you're only making $9 an hour at your other job, and you're making $18 to $22 an hour with these employer partners working half the time, where you still have that other half of your time to then focus on, sorry, puppy, to then focus on your schoolwork, that's something to consider too. And we talk with you through those conversations. So I see another question that says, so can I apply to Accenture if I don't attend Columbus State? I will leave that to Jeff.
Yes, you sure can. Typically, you'll need a bachelor's degree, but not in all cases. Again, when it comes down to it, we're looking for somebody who can collaborate well and who has the skills. And you don't have to be a superstar. You don't have to be a hacker or anything like that. But you have to have some solid skills, and you got to have interpersonal skills to even be considered. Bachelor's degree helps a lot.
That is one thing this program does offer, is that kind of foot in the door entry to these employer partners with your associate's degree, where otherwise, if you're just coming in from, Joe Schmo off the street, like Jeff said, that bachelor's degree tends to be that baseline. So keep that in mind. Oh, I love this question. How might someone who is doing College Credit Plus benefit from this? I'm a high school junior, will be graduating with about 30 credits. Goodness. Okay, yes, that's great. So we actually have had students who have come in with almost their first year done, and been able to take the classes that they need. Essentially for each program, so cybersecurity and software development, there are 5 courses you have to have taken by the time you interview. And we've had students be able to have so many other courses done that they can bust those out in the first semester and like get a running head start, or start some of those classes even as soon as your senior year through CCP with IT classes, depending on the high school you go to, and be able to interview before you graduate high school. We've had that happen too. So definitely connect with me. I want to connect with you, me, and like our CCP coordinator, and see what options we have at your high school and how we could potentially get you in the process, even earlier on than typical. So yes, connect with me, send me an email, hit me up. Does the program have a sorry. I think sorry. Does the program have a flexible schedule to have a job outside? Okay, so we kind of already answered that. You could technically, typically you work Monday through Friday. I do have some students that have maybe a weekend job or like an evening job, or specifically IT, most of our apprentices tend to work like a 9 to 5 when they do work. Like I said, school has to come first. You have to maintain a 2.0 GPA to remain in the program or you get dropped. So, I mean, school has to come first. If you're someone that's like, yep, I can balance 2 jobs and do all the credits and I'm good to go, then like, you know what? You're superhuman and that's awesome. And if that works for you, that works for you, but that doesn't work for everybody. So know your limits and work from there. That would be my 2 cents. Am I able to enroll in autumn only for ITFA program?
Is it only
So-
offered like entry point in the autumn time?
Yes, so the autumn is when the program starts. So you would apply now, you would come to pre-orientation in April or May, and then you would come to program orientation in July. All of this is virtual, by the way. And then you would start your classes in the autumn semester. So that is the timeline. If you're like, oh, I really can't start till spring, also know that we can look at deferring you to the following year. So maybe you get a few classes under your belt before you start in the next autumn. There's options. So that's when it really comes down to, it's hard to fit everybody into a box. It comes down to a lot of different factors and your own personal, your own personal kind of journey and school and life balance. And so we can talk about all those things.
I've been looking through, Taylor. A lot of these we've answered, but the next one I see that there's quite a few people have asked is how long does it take to complete the program?
Technically 2 years. So it is 5 semesters, and that's 5 semesters straight. So let's say we're starting for the 2021 cohort. You are fall 2021, autumn 2022, summer 2022, autumn 2022, spring 2023. So it's 1 year apprenticeship, 2 semesters full-time courses, and then 1 full year of apprenticeship. Now, please know that even if you're like, oh, I'm going to graduate in the middle of that apprenticeship, that is fine. You can graduate while you're still in your apprenticeship, but you're still in that apprenticeship and guaranteed that apprenticeship for a full year. So if you're already kind of a few semesters along, if you're kind of worried about that, that is something we can talk through.
The next one is pretty specific, but basically they're saying if they already have some certifications and things and still want to be in the apprenticeship, would it be beneficial to them if they already have they have Net Plus, A Plus,
Excellent resume booster. I'm sure Jeff and Nick can talk to this when I'm done, but looks great on a resume going out to our employers before you hit networking night even. They're going to see these things that you have these credentials. Also, some of those certifications can count towards classes. So that's classes you won't have to pay for. So you and I can talk about that too, because there's a way to get your certifications to count towards class credit depending on if they're up to date and when they're brought in and all this fun stuff. So that's my 2 cents, but I'll let Nick and Jeff kind of reply to that as well.
Yeah, Nick, I'm especially interested to hear from your perspective.
For sure, yeah. I will say when I was going to school at Columbus State, I had planned ahead of time that I was going to be looking for a job for at least 6 months to a year, because that's what I had read on the forums. That's what distant friends were telling me. That's what I was hearing. So just the fact that you have an apprenticeship, it's insane. It's an insane stepping stone. It's so valuable. It's really invaluable. So even if this program, hired me on, they only paid even $9 an hour. The fact that you're in the industry and working for these companies, these well-respected big name companies, that's going to help out a lot down the road. So I mean, it's really invaluable. There's not much else to say. I can't think of any other way to get a job that there's people with bachelors applying to. We just interviewed a guy with a master's trying to get hired on as an intern. And I was just thinking to myself, I wish they had this apprenticeship program where he went, because, I feel horrible. He spends all this money, all this time, and he's going to maybe get hired on for a position, which is not even as good as the apprenticeship position.
That's wow.
Yeah.
That's really
So I'm going to try to answer kind of more broadly, since there's so many questions about degrees and all of this stuff. The first thing, Nick mentioned internships versus apprenticeships, and it came up in a question that was earlier. In an internship, you go somewhere to a company, you work there, they pay you, you learn on the job, you hope that they will like you enough to then interview you and hire you, but you go back to school, you go looking for another internship, you go apply for a job. Here in the ITFA program, you are in a path that if the employer can hire you, and they want to hire you, they will hire you, right? It's not a guarantee, but it's one of these things where there's a relationship there, right? There's a relationship that both parties, you and us, we're hoping that we will be able to hire you. So you really have to give us an excuse not to hire you, or the economy has crashed or something like that, for that not to happen. On certifications, that one's actually, I feel like it's a little tougher than what Nick said, and not because anything he said was wrong. It's because it's psychological. when you're going through this learning process and trying to understand what work is like with us and or with State Auto or somebody else, what your new life is going to be like and all this kind of thing, certificates play into that. And I have no certificates. I'm working on my Java certificate just because it helps clients if they can see that we have these things. But as far as the job was concerned, it did not help me or hurt me either way, right? What does the certification say, right? To the person who's hiring you, and especially if it's a manager who does this, they know that people can get that certification and still be useless. What it tells them is that you had the gumption to go out and do that. You were doing your job, you're in school, plus you have these certifications. It shows that hunger and thirst for knowledge that you want to improve yourself. And we're expecting that you'll probably have that attitude when you get here because that's the attitude you had before. So you're proving to me, I'm not the hiring manager, I want to be clear about that, right? So I'm just saying me as an Accenture. You're proving to me that you have that kind of mentality that you're going to train yourself. And that's the kind of people that we need. That's where the value for a certificate is. Most of what I've seen, there are some jobs where that certificate is a deal breaker. You got to have it or not. Accenture is not one of those. Now, on the broader jobs, without a doubt, no question, don't even begin to fool yourself. If you have a bachelor's degree in the thing that the employer is hiring you for, whether it's basket weaving or web development, that bachelor's degree is going to help you a lot. You and I both know there are a lot of substandard people who end up with that bachelor's degree that you can run circles around, right? So it's not the be all and end all of everything. Next underneath that is something like a ITFA program or a boot camp or something like that, because those people, we know they've been specifically trained in those things. And if we trust the place, like we trust CSCC, we know we're going to get a good person. It's hard for us to have a bad hire out of CSCC because we know you, we've seen you, we've talked to your teachers and stuff like that. We know you. Underneath that is just somebody with an AA degree, right? You taught yourself, plus you happen to have a liberal arts AA degree, and then you show up here and you want a job. You're gonna have to try really hard to show us that you know what you're doing. If you don't have an AA degree, right? I saw somebody had a general education or something like that. If you don't have anything to supplement that, you are really going to have to show us a couple of things. One, school teaches you maturity and how to work in a group. Find a way to prove to us that you can do that. School gives you specific skills on a specific track covering specific material, right? Show us that you know that material by doing one of these projects and doing a decent job at it. If you do that and you have a positive attitude, you literally could walk off the street, apply for Accenture or State Auto or anybody else and have a shot, right? Just give yourself enough ammunition to have a reasonable shot. That's all. So if you just push yourself up that chain, get into the ITFA program if you can. It's great.
Thank you so much, guys. That's really helpful. So I know we are like 20 minutes over, and I thank you guys for all your questions. I honestly didn't expect this many, or I would have built some time in. So thank you, guys. So I think the one last question that I saw was, do I need to apply now, or do I need to apply when the semester starts? Please apply now. Orientation for this program is July 27th. And so getting you applied before it now. Worst kind of worst, could we get you in after? Sure. Does it make things a lot harder, and does it give you some catching up to do? Yes. So please apply sooner than later. Now, take some time to think about it. Technically, I wouldn't need to hit any final decisions till maybe the 1st of July. And like I said, we can be flexible, but having those conversations early, working with me to make sure you're eligible and that you're college ready and that we can get you on track and get you to a pre-orientation scheduling session. These are all important steps. So you have my phone number for texting and calling. You have my email. You have my calendar link. There is no possible way you can't get a hold of me. Send a smoke signal if none of those things work. So I am very excited. Where do we apply from? So I provide the application. So students meet with me. We look at your eligibility. We look at kind of what your goals are. We talk a little bit more about next steps. And then I send you that application one-on-one. And the reason we do that is to make sure that we don't get an abundance of applications for students that wouldn't be eligible and are expecting to be in the program. We really want to be intentional about handing that application out and making sure that this is a good fit for you and your goals. And so that's the goal. So you have my contact. Please use it. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Jeff, for being here, sharing your in sight. It's always good to see your faces. And so thank you guys for being here, staying a little bit extra. And I look forward to hearing from a lot of you in the next week or so. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh, I will send the recording out as a follow-up for those that attended and those that weren't able to make it. So we will upload it to YouTube and get it out to all of you guys as well. So no worries on that. We'll get you the recording as soon as we can. So
Hey,
thanks,
Kayla.
guys.
Kayla, I got a quick question for you.
Sure.
How many